Hi everyone! We have reached the pinnacle of our journey. After mastering mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, and cause and effect, we arrive at the engine that drives them all, the law of gender. The Kybalion states, gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. This is not about biological sex. It is about the fundamental dynamics of generation and regeneration that govern the birth of an atom, a star, or a billion-dollar fortune. In this final episode, we will explore why your manifestations may have been stalled due to an internal gender imbalance. Most people operate with an overactive masculine principle, focused only on aggressive action and logic, or a passive feminine principle, lost in visualization without direction. By integrating Dr. Joe Dispenza's work on brain coherence with the Hermetic concept of mental gender, I will show you how to synchronize your conscious and subconscious minds to become a fertile ground for reality. You will learn that creation is not an act of force, but an act of balanced union. Throughout my practice, I discovered that true sovereignty is only achieved when you marry the will to the feeling. This is the great work of the alchemist, the marriage of the sun and the moon within your own consciousness. As we conclude this series, you will understand that you are not just a witness to the universe, but the very womb and seed of your destiny. It is time to stop struggling and start generating from a place of total, integrated power. If you have followed this series to the end, you are now part of a select group of individuals ready for true mastery. Please subscribe to the channel and join our community of sovereign creators. We are just beginning our exploration into the depths of reality, and hitting the notification bell ensures you are always present for the next stage of our evolution. The law of gender is the most practical of all the laws, yet its nuances require constant study. I have placed the links for the Kybalion and the works of Dr. Joe Dispenza in the first pinned comment below. These texts will help you maintain the internal balance necessary for consistent manifestation. Make them your lifelong companions. 1. The principle of generation, beyond sex and duality. The seventh Hermetic law, the law of gender, is the most misunderstood and yet the most vital principle for the actualization of wealth and reality. It states that gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. In the Western world, we have been conditioned to view gender through a purely biological or social lens, but to the alchemist, gender is the fundamental mechanism of generation. Nothing can manifest in the physical, mental, or spiritual planes without the interaction of these two distinct but complementary energies. The masculine principle represents the energy of directing, willing, and outgoing. It is the seed that carries the blueprint, the intent, and the electrical impulse that initiates action. The feminine principle represents the energy of receiving, nurturing, and generating. It is the soil that provides the environment, the magnetic pole, and the creative womb where the seed can grow into a tangible result. Wealth is never the result of just one of these principles. It is the child born from their perfect union within your consciousness. In the realm of financial manifestation, many people are gender imbalanced, which is why their efforts fail. Those with an overactive masculine principle are constantly doing, chasing, and forcing, but because they lack the feminine receptivity, they have no soil to plant their efforts in. They work 16 hours a day, but remain broke because they have not developed the internal capacity to receive and nurture the abundance. Conversely, those with an overactive feminine principle are lost in visualization and feeling, but because they lack the masculine will to direct that energy into action, their dreams remain ethereal and never solidify in the 3D world. The technical term for this process is generation, and it is observable in every layer of physics. In an atom, we see the interaction of the positive and negative charges, the masculine and feminine poles of energy. Without this interaction, matter would simply cease to exist. There would be no cohesion, no structure, and no movement. When you apply this to your mind, you realize that your conscious mind, the will, is the masculine element, and your subconscious mind, the creative womb, is the feminine element. The conscious mind plants the seed of a financial goal, but it is the subconscious mind that must gestate that goal into reality. Dr. Joe Dispenza's work on electromagnetic signatures perfectly illustrates this Hermetic law. The electrical signal you send into the quantum field is the masculine intent. It is the directive force. The magnetic charge you pull back from the field is the feminine, receptive, nurturing force. If you have a strong intent, masculine, but your emotions are not aligned, feminine, you are sending a seed into a frozen wasteland where nothing can grow. Manifestation requires the coherent marriage of these two signals to create a gestation period that leads to physical results. In my journey of studying these laws, I discovered that the gestation period is where most seekers lose their faith. Just as a biological seed requires time in the dark soil before the sprout appears, a mental seed requires a period of incubation within the feminine subconscious. The law of gender teaches us that there is a set time for everything to grow. You cannot force a pregnancy to conclude in 1 month, and you cannot force a massive financial shift to happen before the mental gender has completed its work. Understanding this allows the master to remain in a state of active patience, knowing that the law is working even when the physical evidence is not yet visible. We must also analyze the concept of mental gender as it relates to the I and the me. The I is the masculine aspect, the observer, the will, the witness who stands apart from the thoughts. The me is the feminine aspect, the repository of thoughts, feelings, habits, and the creative machinery of the psyche. Most people are slaves to their me. They identify with their past habits and emotions, which means their feminine principle is constantly giving birth to more of the same old reality. The master uses the I, the masculine will, to consciously direct the me, the feminine subconscious, toward a new blueprint of wealth. This internal hierarchy is the secret to sovereign generation. By detaching the I from the me, you can observe your current financial patterns without being consumed by them. You can say to your subconscious, "This is the new seed of 2026 wealth," and then use your feminine principle to nurture that seed with the frequency of gratitude. This is not a struggle, it is a sacred union. When the I and the me are in alignment, the internal friction vanishes and the law of attraction accelerates because the signal of creation is no longer being canceled out by internal conflict. The law of gender also explains the necessity of rest and action. Action is the masculine expression, rest is the feminine expression. In a culture obsessed with hustle, the feminine principle of rest and receptivity is often neglected, leading to burnout and creative sterility. To be a generator of immense wealth, you must respect the cycles of gender, knowing when to push, masculine, and when to surrender, feminine. The most profound breakthroughs often come during the feminine phase of stillness, when the mind is open to receiving the seed of inspiration from the higher planes. In the next sections, we will explore the neurobiology of balance and how to integrate the left and right hemispheres of the brain to reach a state of gamma synchrony. This is the physical manifestation of the law of gender, the biological marriage of logic and intuition. You are learning to move beyond the duality of the world and into the unity of the Creator. Prepare to integrate the final pieces of the puzzle, for once the principles of masculine and feminine are balanced within you, you become an unstoppable force of nature. The law of gender is the seal upon the great work, ensuring that your will is not just a wish, but a command that the universe must obey. 2. The neurobiology of balance, hemispheric integration. The law of gender finds its perfect biological expression in the dual nature of the human brain. Science has long identified the specialized functions of the left and right hemispheres, which align precisely with the Hermetic masculine and feminine principles. The left hemisphere is the seat of the masculine. It is logical, analytical, linear, and focused on the how and when of the material world. The right hemisphere is the seat of the feminine. It is intuitive, holistic, creative, and functions in the realm of the now and the infinite. To manifest significant wealth, you cannot rely on just one. You must achieve hemispheric synchronization, where both sides work in a coherent, rhythmic union. In a state of financial stress or survival, most people are hemispherically fragmented. They are either overanalyzing their lack, left brain dominance, or lost in unrealistic fantasies without any plan, right brain dominance. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research shows that when these two hemispheres are out of sync, the brain produces incoherent waves that cancel each other out. This internal noise prevents you from sending a clear signal to the quantum field. The law of gender applied to neurobiology teaches us that creation only happens when the logic of the masculine and the vision of the feminine are unified into a single coherent broadcast. This unification is facilitated by the corpus callosum, the bridge of nerve fibers that allow the two sides to communicate. In my journey, I discovered that the most powerful manifestation tool is not a specific technique, but the capacity to increase the bandwidth of this bridge. When you enter a state of deep meditation and heart-brain coherence, you begin to experience gamma brainwave synchrony. Gamma waves are the highest frequency brainwaves associated with peak states of consciousness, superlearning, and the divine union of internal gender. In this state, the brain is no longer divided. It functions as a single, unified antenna, capable of collapsing the wave function of your highest financial timeline with surgical precision. The masculine left brain provides the structural clarity, the specific goal, the numbers, and the tactical steps. The feminine right brain provides the vibrational fuel, the emotion, the expansion, and the connection to the field of all possibilities. If you have clarity without fuel, you have a dead engine. If you have fuel without clarity, you have an explosion without direction. The law of gender dictates that the seed, intent, and the soil, frequency, must meet in the womb of a synchronized brain. This is the neurobiology of the great work, where you stop being a fragmented biological machine and start being a sovereign creator. From a chemical perspective, this balance is reflected in the dance between dopamine and serotonin/oxytocin. Dopamine is the masculine chemical of seeking and achieving. It drives the hustle and the pursuit of goals. Serotonin and oxytocin are the feminine chemicals of being and fulfillment. They allow you to feel the abundance before it arrives. The average entrepreneur is often a dopamine addict, constantly chasing the next hit of success but never achieving the feminine state of receiving. Integration means training your brain to fire the chemicals of fulfillment, feminine, while you are still in the process of achieving, masculine, which essentially tells the quantum field that the effect has already happened. I have found that the greatest obstacle to this integration is the hyper-masculine bias of modern society. We are taught to overvalue the action and undervalue the state of being. However, the law of gender reminds us that without the feminine incubation, the masculine effort is sterile. By spending time in the nothingness of the quantum field, a purely feminine, receptive space, you are allowing the masculine seeds of your intentions to gestate. This is why the most successful visionaries often report their best ideas coming during moments of total stillness, not during the heat of the grind. The technical process of achieving this balance involves the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, action and masculine, and the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and feminine, must be in a state of dynamic equilibrium. When you can maintain a calm heart, parasympathetic, while your mind is sharply focused on a complex business problem, sympathetic, you are manifesting the law of gender in your biology. You are the calm in the storm, a state of being that is highly magnetic to opportunities and wealth. This is the biology of mastery, the ability to hold the tension of the opposites until a third, higher power is born. As we move toward the final integration of this law, understand that your brain is the laboratory where the alchemical marriage takes place. Every time you choose to breathe and feel gratitude in the midst of a logical challenge, masculine, you are strengthening the bridge. You are becoming an androgynous creator, someone who possesses the strength of the will and the softness of the heart. This is the ultimate frequency of the law of attraction, for the universe cannot resist a being that is internally whole. The law of gender is the bridge between the world of ideas and the world of matter. It is the final step in the science of making the invisible visible. In the next block, we will apply this mental gender specifically to the mechanics of wealth creation. We will look at the interaction between the conscious seed and the subconscious soil, and why most people's financial garden is full of weeds. You are ready to master the generation of your reality. The hemispheres are aligning, the signal is clearing, and the final secrets of the great work are about to be revealed. Prepared to step into the role of the sovereign generator. 3. Mental gender in wealth, the seed and the soil. In the manifestation of wealth, the law of gender operates through the interaction between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the masculine principle. It is the planter that selects the specific seed of intention, such as, I will earn $1 million this year. The subconscious mind is the feminine principle. It is the garden that takes that seed and, through its vast creative machinery, begins to grow it into physical reality. The tragedy of the average individual is that they are a poor gardener. They plant a seed of wealth with their conscious mind, but their subconscious soil is toxic, filled with the weeds of past lack and unworthiness. The law of gender dictates that a seed cannot grow in an environment that is vibrationally incompatible with its nature. If you plant a seed of abundance, masculine, into a soil of scarcity, feminine, the feminine principle will not nurture the seed, it will reject it. This is why affirmations often fail. You are trying to force a masculine impulse into a feminine womb that is already pregnant with a different reality. To change your financial life, you must first clear the soil. You must decondition the subconscious mind so it becomes a receptive, fertile environment for your new intentions. In my journey of analyzing high net worth individuals, I discovered that their secret is not just hard work, but subconscious fertilization. They have trained their feminine principle to be in a constant state of wealth readiness. Their subconscious doesn't just accept the idea of money, it demands it, because its very nature has been altered to match the frequency of abundance. When they plant a new business idea, masculine seed, the soil, feminine subconscious, immediately begins to provide the resources, the intuitions, and the coincidences necessary for its growth. The generation is effortless because the mental gender is in perfect alignment. The technical process of this generation involves the reticular activating system, RAS, in the brain. When the masculine will sets a clear financial target, the RAS acts as the fertilizer, filtering the vast amount of environmental data to find the specific opportunities that match the target. However, the RAS is programmed by the feminine subconscious. It only looks for what you already believe to be true. If your subconscious is pregnant with the idea that money is hard to get, your RAS will ignore a gold mine standing right in front of you. You must use the law of gender to reprogram the feminine aspect of your mind to see abundance as its natural state. We must also understand the incubation period in wealth creation. Every financial goal has a specific gestation time, a period between the planting of the intention and the harvesting of the result. In the masculine-driven hustle culture, people have lost the ability to respect this period. They dig up the seed every 2 days to see if it's growing, which effectively kills the manifestation. The feminine principle requires darkness, silence, and time to perform its creative work. By constantly worrying about how and when the money will come, you are interrupting the gestation and signaling to the universe that the seed has failed. Dr. Joe Dispenza's work on living in the future is the ultimate hack for the law of gender. When you feel the gratitude for your wealth before it manifests, you are essentially seeding the subconscious with the final result. The feminine principle doesn't know the difference between a real external event and an internally generated emotion. By providing the effect, the feeling, as a cause, you force the subconscious to rearrange your physical reality to match that feeling. You are gestating a new life by providing the emotional nutrients that the new reality needs to solidify. I've found that many entrepreneurs suffer from causal impotence, the inability to plant a seed deeply enough to take root. They jump from one idea to another, planting 100 seeds but never staying with one long enough for the law of gender to complete the gestation. The masculine principle must be focused and unwavering. The will must be held steady until the soil accepts the command. Scattering your energy across too many goals is like trying to impregnate 100 different fields at once. You end up with nothing but exhaustion and empty soil. Sovereignty is the discipline of choosing one major seed and nurturing it until it becomes a forest. The law of gender also applies to the receptive state of the market. In business, your product is the masculine impulse, and the market is the feminine receptive field. If you launch a product without understanding the need or the vibration of the market, you are trying to plant a seed in concrete. A master generator studies the market to find the void, the space where the feminine is waiting for a masculine impulse. When you fill a void with a precise, high-value solution, the generation of wealth is explosive because the gender dynamics are perfectly matched. Furthermore, we must address the shadow of the feminine in wealth, the fear of receiving. Many people are excellent givers, masculine, but terrible receivers, feminine. They work hard, they help others, they provide value, but when it's time to collect the reward, they feel guilty or unworthy. This vibrational constriction prevents the wealth from flowing into their lives. To master the law of gender, you must become a lustful receiver. You must be as eager to receive the harvest as you were to plant the seed. Expansion requires both the breath out, giving or action, and the breath in, receiving or being. In my own evolution, I realized that the most powerful generator is the one who has reconciled their relationship with time. Masculine energy is obsessed with the linear timeline, clocks, deadlines, and urgency. Feminine energy lives in the quantum now, where all possibilities already exist. By bringing the masculine intent into the feminine now, you collapse the distance between your goal and your reality. You are no longer waiting for the money, you are observing its inevitable arrival. This state of certainty is the final stage of mental gender integration. As we move to the final block, we will bring all 7 laws together to reveal the sovereign creator. You have learned how to think, how to correspond, how to vibrate, how to balance polarity, how to ride the rhythm, and how to set causes in motion. Now, by mastering the law of gender, you have the engine to make all those principles work as one. You are no longer a student of the laws, you are the one who executes them. Prepare for the grand finale of this series, where we integrate the great work into a singular blueprint for a legendary life. 4. The Sovereign Creator, the Perspective of Mastery. Becoming a sovereign creator is the ultimate aim of the Hermetic student. It is the moment when you cease to be a subject of the laws and become the director of them. The law of gender is the final seal because it provides the mechanism through which the previous 6 laws find their physical expression. Without the generative power of gender, mentalism is just an idea, vibration is just noise, and cause and effect is just a cold, mechanical loop. Gender is the breath of life that turns the blueprints of your mind into the flesh and bone of your reality. In my journey of integrating these principles, I discovered that the greatest challenge is not learning the laws, but maintaining the internal equilibrium required to execute them simultaneously. Mastery is not a static state, it is a dynamic, rhythmic dance. I realized that when my manifestations were slow, it was always because I had drifted into a gender dissonance. I was either pushing too hard with the masculine will or waiting too passively with the feminine emotion. The middle path is the realization that you are the androgynous creator, a being that possesses the strength to command the field and the grace to let the field respond. What I've found while applying these laws to high-level wealth creation is that the master operates from a state of causal unity. In this state, the I, the masculine observer, and the me, the feminine subconscious, are no longer at war. The conscious intent and the subconscious belief are so perfectly aligned that the gestation period for wealth is significantly compressed. This is the quantum leap we often hear about. It is not a jump over a physical distance, but a jump into a higher state of internal integration. When the gender principles are balanced, the resistance in your biological and energetic circuitry drops to zero, and the manifestation appears as if by magic. This integration is the true meaning of the great work of alchemy. We are not turning lead into gold. We are turning a fragmented, survival-based consciousness into a unified, sovereign one. Dr. Joe Dispenza often speaks about the new person who arises after a deep meditative experience. This is the integrated self that has reclaimed its power from the past. By balancing your mental gender, you have effectively unlocked the womb of the universe. You now possess the keys to the laboratory of life, where you can synthesize any reality you desire through the conscious application of the 7 laws. I noticed that as I moved further into this mastery, my relationship with the external world changed completely. I no longer saw obstacles, I only saw unformed potential waiting for a masculine impulse. I no longer saw lack, I only saw a feminine void waiting to be filled with the seed of my intention. This perspective shift is the hallmark of the sovereign creator. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are interpreting the world through the lens of your own generative power. You understand that the universe is not something separate from you. It is the very soil you are gardening every single day. As we conclude this series, let us look back at the structure we have built. We started with mentalism, realizing the universe is mind. We used correspondence to map our internal world to the external. We adjusted our vibration to match the frequency of wealth. We navigated the polarity of our emotions and the rhythm of the markets. We set conscious causes in motion to ensure specific effects. And finally, through gender, we have learned how to bring all these elements into a fertile union to generate a legendary life. My experience has shown me that the final test of the master is consistency. It is easy to be a sovereign creator in a quiet room, but the real work happens in the noise of the world. Can you maintain your gender balance when your bank account looks low? Can you hold the masculine seed of your vision when the feminine soil seems cold and unresponsive? The master knows that the law is absolute. If the seed is planted and the soil is nurtured, the harvest is inevitable. Doubt is merely a negative seed that tries to find a home in your garden. The sovereign creator simply refuses to plant it. This path is not for everyone. It requires a level of self-discipline and intellectual honesty that most are unwilling to develop. But for those of you who have followed this series to the end, the rewards are infinite. You are now equipped with the technical and spiritual blueprints to build an empire of abundance, health, and impact. You have the tools to rewrite your cellular code and to command the atoms of your reality. 2026 and the years beyond are no longer a mystery to be feared. They are a canvas to be painted by your hand. In my journey, the most profound realization was that the abundance I was seeking was already the natural state of the field. I only had to remove the internal barriers to its manifestation. The law of gender was the final barrier to fall. By embracing my own wholeness, I stopped trying to get and started becoming. When you become wealth, wealth has no choice but to find you. When you become power, power flows through you like a river. This is the end of the search and the beginning of the mastery. I want to thank you for walking this path with me. The 7 laws are now yours to wield. Go forth and generate a reality that reflects the highest version of your soul. Build with intention, nurture with love, and rule with the wisdom of the integrated self. The great work is complete within these videos, but it is only beginning within your life. You are the architect. You are the cause. You are the sovereign. We have reached the end of this epic journey through the 7 Hermetic laws, but the exploration of mastery never stops. If this series has transformed your understanding of reality, please subscribe and share this knowledge with those ready to awaken. Stay with us as we move into deeper applications of these laws for the new era of 2026. Hit the notification bell. Your sovereign evolution is just beginning. The 7 laws are a lifetime study, and having the source material is essential for your continued growth. I have placed the links for the Kybalion and the works of Dr. Joe Dispenza in the first pinned comment below. Own these books, annotate them, and let them be the foundation of your library of power. The student who never stops learning is the one who never stops growing. As we close this series, I want to hear from you. Which of the 7 laws resonated with you the most, and how are you applying it to your life today? Leave a comment below. Let's build a collective field of sovereign creators. Thank you for your focus, your energy, and your commitment to the great work. I will see you in our next deep dive into the mechanics of the soul.